My name is Madeline Carter, and until just a few nights ago, I truly believed my family cared about me. It started like any other ordinary evening in my apartment in Portland, Oregon. I had just finished prepping dinner, some leftover pasta, and a half glass of wine when my phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, reached for the screen, and saw a notification from my Aunt Linda. She'd sent me a video, no caption, no explanation. I figured it was just one of those quirky family videos she liked to send, maybe an old Christmas clip or a nostalgic backyard barbecue. I tapped the message without thinking, expecting to see something silly or sentimental. Instead, I heard my mother's voice. Madeline should be thankful, she said flatly. She'd be nothing without us. I froze. The screen showed a dimly lit room, probably Aunt Linda's kitchen. The video was shaky, like someone had set the phone down accidentally without realizing it was recording, but the voices crystal clear. A total failure, my dad added with a laugh. But hey, at least she's useful for one thing, paying all our bills. More laughter, familiar chilling. I couldn't move. I just stared at the screen while my chest tightened. My ears rang. If Maddie ever stops sending money, Aunt Linda's voice cut in. Yes, the same aunt who had just sent me the video will guilt her. She's too soft to ever say no. A laugh, casual and cruel. I tightened my grip on the phone. Every muscle in my body went rigid. My name, not a joke, not a misunderstanding, not some stranger. Me. I had been helping my family for years, paying rent, covering medical bills, giving up vacations, savings, peace of mind, because I thought that's what love looked like. I thought I was doing what a daughter should, what a niece should, what family demanded. And now I heard what they really thought of me. A walking wallet. I just stood there still as stone when suddenly the video vanished. This message has been unsent. Aunt Linda had realized her mistake. She must have panicked and deleted it, hoping I hadn't watched it. Hoping maybe I'd missed it entirely. But I didn't. I saw every second, heard every word. I could have called her then, could have messaged my parents, confronted them, demanded answers. But I didn't. Instead, I set my phone down, and I started to think, not about revenge, not about forgiveness, but about a plan. I sat on the edge of my couch for what felt like hours, the sound of their voices echoing in my mind like a cruel recording on loop. Madeline should be thankful. A total failure. She's too soft to say no. The video was gone, but it didn't matter. It was burned into my memory. At first, I wanted to believe there had to be a misunderstanding. Maybe it was taken out of context. Maybe they were joking, but deep down I knew better. There was no misunderstanding, no misheard sarcasm. They meant it, every word. They'd said it comfortably, casually, like it was a truth they'd repeated many times before. And the most painful part, they weren't wrong about one thing. I had always been too soft to say no. I had spent years stretching my paychecks thinner than I should have, delaying trips, skipping out on nights out, and eating instant ramen while covering their rent, their car notes, their overdue utilities. My dad's temporary money trouble. I'd covered his mortgage for 3 years. My brother's college tuition. He dropped out after a semester and I was still paying off the loan. My mother's emergency dental procedures always managed to show up right after my paycheck hit. And I'd done it all, willingly, without hesitation, because I thought that's what family did. That's what love looked like, sacrifice. I used to believe they appreciated me. I used to believe they loved me. But that one video, that single unintentional moment captured when they thought I wasn't listening, it cracked that illusion wide open. And the worst part was they thought they'd gotten away with it. Aunt Linda had unsent the video. She was probably breathing a sigh of relief, thinking she dodged a bullet. Maybe she was even telling the others right then. Don't worry, Maddie didn't see it. They assumed I was still the obedient little provider, still in the dark. That was their mistake. I could have called her that night, could have sent a screenshot, asked for an explanation, but what good would it have done? They would have spun it, twisted, it guilted me until somehow I was the one apologizing. No, I wasn't going to give them that. If they believed I was still their naive, dependable little piggy bank, good, let them. Because in just a few days, the next request was coming. And this time, everything was going to change. The next morning started like any other. The sun peeked through my sheer curtains. My coffee maker gurgled quietly on the counter. Toast popped. Everything outside was normal. But inside me, everything had changed. I was no longer on autopilot. As I scrolled through my phone, sipping from my chipped blue mug, a familiar notification slid across my screen. "Mom, morning, sweetie, just checking in, hope you're doing okay." That alone made me freeze. My mother never texted without a reason, never checked in unless she wanted something. And right on cue, just a few minutes later, "Mom, oh, by the way, rent is due soon. Can you send it by Friday?" There it was. The same pattern, the same loop I'd been caught in for years. Normally, I'd reply immediately. Something like, "Of course, no problem." Maybe I'd even toss in an apology for not sending it sooner, just to make her feel like I owed her. But not today. I stared at the blinking cursor on my phone, then erased everything I'd started to type. And in its place, I wrote something I had never sent before. "Me, I can't this month." 3 words. Simple, direct, radical. I hit send. Then I placed the phone face down on the table and waited. A full minute passed. Then 2. Buzz. "Mom, what do you mean you can't?" Her panic bled through the screen. She wasn't used to resistance, especially not from me. I'd always been the dependable one, the fixer, the quiet yes machine who kept the family train running. I didn't reply right away. Instead, I took another sip of coffee and let her sit in her confusion. Another message came. "Mom, Madeline, this is serious. We're counting on you. You know we don't have any other option right now." Then another. "Aunt Linda, hey sweetheart, your mom's freaking out. Is everything okay?" I nearly laughed. Was everything okay? I had spent years bleeding financially for this family. One boundary, one single refusal, and suddenly it was DEFCON 1. Not one of them asked how I was. Not one asked if I needed help. No concern, no curiosity, just panic that their ATM had paused service. I picked up my phone again and typed, "Me, I've got some unexpected expenses this month. I won't be able to send anything. Sorry." That was it. No guilt, no apology for existing, just the truth. Then I waited. What happened next would tell me everything I needed to know. And I was ready to finally listen. The silence that followed was louder than any argument we'd ever had. For the first time in my adult life, I had said no. And they didn't know how to handle it. I watched the screen of my phone light up with the familiar little gray dots my mother was typing. Then it stopped, then started again, then disappeared. I imagined her sitting in the kitchen pacing, trying to formulate the perfect combination of words to snap me back into line. Finally, her message arrived. "Mom, what do you mean unexpected expenses? What could possibly be more important than your family?" There it was. The classic guilt trip neatly packaged and thrown like a dart. I didn't reply. Buzz. Mom, you know your brother can't cover rent. If he gets evicted, that's on you. Ah, the brother card. Classic strategy, guilt by proxy. I still didn't answer. Another buzz. Mom, we raised you, Madeline. We supported you when you had nothing. Is this how you repay us? I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. When I had nothing, I had always had nothing. I worked 3 jobs to put myself through college. I shared a studio apartment with a leaking ceiling in a bad part of town for 2 years. I had built my career brick by brick, no handouts, no co-signers, no rescue plans. What they gave me wasn't support, it was debt disguised as duty. Another message blinked across the screen. Aunt Linda, Madeline, don't do this. We're family. Your mom's just upset. You know how she gets. Just send the rent and everything will be fine. Fine, fine for who? I stared at her words, feeling something crack, not break, but shift deep inside me. For years, I'd lived with the fear that if I stopped helping, they would hate me, that I'd be abandoned, shunned. But the video had already proven what I feared most. They never loved me for who I was, only for what I could provide. And now that I had dared to stop, they were showing their true faces. No compassion, no curiosity, just outrage, just demands. I needed a moment. My heart was racing. I walked into the kitchen, poured a glass of cold water, and leaned against the counter, staring at the digital clock on the microwave. My entire life, I had carried their burdens on my back, and the moment I asked to set them down, they acted like I was burning the whole house down. Maybe that was the point. Maybe it was time to let it burn. Later that night, as the sun dipped low behind the Oregon pines, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a text. It was a voice message from Aunt Linda. I stared at the screen. She never sent voice messages. She was more of a passive-aggressive GIF kind of person, saccharine texts, with just enough guilt baked in to sting. But this was different. My thumb hovered over the play button. Something in my chest tightened. I took a deep breath and pressed play. Her voice poured through, sharp and impatient. Gone was the sweet tone. This was raw. Madeline. I don't know what kind of game you think you're playing, but this isn't funny. Your mother is losing her mind, your father's furious, and honestly, I don't blame them. You've always been, well, a little ungrateful, but this is selfish. My hand trembled slightly, but I kept listening. You have a good job, don't you? You make more than the rest of us combined. And now suddenly you can't spare a few $100 to help your family. A bitter scoff echoed through the speaker. You owe them, Maddie. After everything they've done for you, all the sacrifices they made, you're just going to walk away. Pretend they don't exist. She exhaled sharply. I thought she might be done. Then her tone dropped cold, serious, cutting. You want to be that kind of person. Fine, but don't expect forgiveness. Don't expect to come crawling back when you realize how much you need them. Because once you cross this line, there's no coming back. Silence. The message ended, but the ringing in my ears did not. I sat there, the phone still in my hand, her words settling in like ash after a fire. I should have felt panicked, regretful, desperate to fix it. But I didn't. I felt calm. More than that, I felt free. She had said the quiet part out loud. They didn't love me. They didn't respect me. They didn't even see me as a human being. I was a tool, a wallet with a heart. And now that I'd stopped handing out money, I was nothing to them. So maybe it was time to be exactly that. Nothing. Not their daughter. Not their savior. Not their ATM. Just gone. The next morning, just as the light began creeping through my blinds, a knock echoed through my apartment. It was too early for deliveries, too early for neighbors, too early for anything except trouble. I froze for a moment. Another knock, louder this time. Reluctantly, I walked to the door, heart thudding in my chest. I peeked through the peephole. It was Connor, my younger brother. His hoodie was wrinkled hair a mess, and his eyes were bloodshot like he hadn't slept. I hesitated, but then I opened the door just a crack. His face twisted into a look that teetered between panic and rage. "Are you serious, Maddie?" he barked. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I raised an eyebrow. "Good morning to you, too." He scoffed, running a shaky hand through his hair. "Don't do that. Don't act like this isn't a big deal. You blocked Mom. You blocked Dad. You blocked Aunt Linda. What the hell is going on with you?" I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "I don't know, Connor. Maybe I just got tired of being treated like a paycheck with a pulse." His jaw clenched. "Oh my God, not this again." I let out a bitter laugh. "You mean the part where I've been paying your rent for 3 years? Your utilities, your food, even that stupid gym membership you never use." He opened his mouth to protest, but I cut him off. "And the one time, just one time, I say no, Mom calls me selfish, Dad says I'm unacceptable, and you show up at my door like I've committed a crime." Connor's eyes darted away. I kept going. "Don't pretend you care about me," I said softly. "I saw the video." That got him. His face went pale, real fear crept in. "What video?" he asked too quickly. I didn't smile, I didn't flinch. "You know which one." He looked away again, shifting uncomfortably, his hands curled into fists. "Look," he mumbled, "it wasn't serious, okay? We were just joking around. You're blowing it out of proportion." Joking, my voice was cold steel, calling me a pathetic failure, saying I should be grateful for the privilege of supporting all of you. He rubbed his face in frustration. "Maddie, come on." "No," I snapped. "You come on. You want money. Get a job. You want someone to coddle you. Try someone else. I'm done." Silence. He stared at me, and for a moment I saw something flicker, shame maybe. But it vanished just as quickly. "You don't mean that," he muttered. "I do." His face hardened. "Fine, be a selfish bitch, but don't come crawling back when you realize you have no one." And with that, he stormed off. But he was wrong. Because for once, I did have someone. Me. I stood in the doorway for a long time after Connor left. My heart was pounding my throat tight, but my spine solid, stronger than it had ever been. He thought he could shake me. They all did, but they were wrong. As I slowly closed the door behind me, my phone lit up on the kitchen counter once more. Caller ID Mom. Again, I didn't answer. For years, I had jumped at every buzz, every ring, every alert. I had internalized this idea that their needs came before mine, that if I didn't pick up, I was failing them. But now, I turned the phone over face down. It buzzed again, then a text. "Mom, a last chance. Madeline, send the rent." I stared at the screen for a long, long moment. Then without hesitation, I opened my contacts list. Blocked Mom, blocked Dad, blocked Aunt Linda. It was fast, clinical, like removing splinters that had been buried too deep. For the first time in years, my phone was silent. Utterly, blissfully silent. I stood there breathing slowly, trying to absorb the weight of what I had just done. But there was no panic. There was no regret. There was only space I hadn't had in a very, very long time. And then as if on cue, my doorbell rang again. A cold shiver ran down my spine. I knew that knock. I didn't want to believe it, but I did. I looked through the peephole. Connor. Again. His knock was different this time, less aggressive, more hesitant, but still insistent, still uninvited. I opened the door a crack, keeping my posture calm. He looked tired, hollow, but not defeated, just desperate. "Maddie," he said, voice low, "you need to listen to me." I didn't move. "I don't need to listen to anything," I replied. "I've listened enough." He looked shocked for a moment, like he wasn't expecting me to hold the line. "Mom's freaking out. Dad's calling me nonstop. They don't know what to do." I leaned against the frame, arms crossed. "That's not my problem anymore." His voice cracked just a little. "You can't just leave us hanging like this." I stared hard at him. "Oh, I can, and I have." He blinked, stunned. "So that's it, you're just cutting us off." "No, Connor," I said clearly, "I'm saving myself." And this time, I didn't wait for his response. I closed the door. Not slammed, not dramatic, just shut, like sealing off a room that had flooded for years and finally pumping the water out. The next morning, the quiet in my apartment was almost too loud. No calls, no texts, no apologies, just silence. For the first time, I felt it settle around me, not as loneliness, but as something unfamiliar and powerful: peace. I sat in my living room, legs curled under me, coffee in hand, watching the sun stretch across the floorboards. And as that stillness sank in, I realized something. I wasn't done. Not yet. They'd called me selfish, ungrateful, a brat. But they had no memory of what I'd done for them, no record of the sacrifices, the thousands of dollars, the bills paid, the debt absorbed. So I decided to show them. I got up, sat at my desk, and opened my laptop. I pulled out old bank statements, payment confirmations, rent transfers, tuition receipts, medical bills, everything. I compiled it all into a clean, detailed spreadsheet. Every single dime, every bailout, every emergency. It took 2 hours. I didn't rush. When I was done, I opened a blank email. Subject: final balance. I wrote, "Here is a complete record of what I've contributed to this family over the past 7 years. Rent, tuition, medical, groceries, you name it. I'm not sending this for thanks. I'm sending it for clarity. I'm done being your lifeline. I'm done being manipulated. This is the last financial interaction you'll ever receive from me. You don't owe me anything, but you will owe yourselves the realization of how much you took and never gave back." I attached the spreadsheet. Then I did something I'd never done before. I opened the family group chat, the one where they'd used phrases like, "We're in trouble," and "Maddie, we need you," where every message came with emotional strings tied to money. I scrolled through the guilt, the entitlement, the constant need. And then I wrote, "You all talk a lot about what you've done for me, but you never once considered what I gave up for you. Here's the truth: you didn't need me, you just used me. This is my final message. Don't contact me again." Then I hit send. The moment I did, it felt like a string that had been wrapped around my chest for years finally snapped. No more questioning, no more defending, no more giving without receiving. Just release. I leaned back in my chair, closed my eyes, and exhaled. Whatever happened next didn't matter, because I had finally taken control. That night, I turned off my phone and left it face down on the kitchen counter. No more alerts, no more buzzing guilt wrapped in emojis. Just silence. I went to bed that night without the weight of their expectations pressing on my chest. No more staying up late wondering how to stretch my paycheck far enough to cover someone else's irresponsibility. It was the first time in years I slept through the night. The next morning, I woke up feeling light, free. But of course, it didn't last long. My laptop pinged with one final message, this time from my father. "Dad, we raised you, Madeline. Don't think you can just walk away from everything we've done for you. You're making a huge mistake. Come back, we'll talk, we'll fix this." I stared at the screen for a long time. There was no apology, no acknowledgement, no accountability, Just more of the same emotional blackmail dressed up as concern. And this time, instead of responding or blocking him, I did something better. I opened a new tab. I logged into my bank account, and I changed every automatic payment that had his name, my mother's, or Connor's on it. Cancelled. Then I opened a travel site and booked myself a solo weekend getaway. Nothing extravagant, just a quiet cabin up north in the mountains where I could breathe fresh air and remember what life felt like when it was mine. I stood at my window that afternoon sipping tea as clouds rolled over the skyline, and I smiled. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't cruelty. It was reclamation, taking back the life they drained from me dollar by dollar, guilt trip by guilt trip. They had always said family sticks together, but they never stuck to me. They drained me, used me, dismissed me, and now they were left scrambling, not because I was cruel, but because I finally said, enough. Later that evening, one last message slipped through. Connor, from a different number. You're making a mistake, Maddie. Family means everything. You'll regret this. I smiled softly and set the phone down without replying. He was wrong. I didn't regret it. Not for a second. Because now I wasn't living for them anymore. I was finally living for me. And that in the end was the sweetest victory I never knew I needed.